Welcome to yet another edition of Us Three from Mainly Wrestling. JJ's now got the kids to bed, so hopefully no more dramas. Lissy's got her blow dry looking tremendous, and I'm as bald as ever. However, I'm in a good mood because, gentlemen and lady, we're going to look at World Championship Wrestling from 1986. Finally, the greatest year in the history of wrestling. Jim Crockett promotion was on fire. The Nature Boy was the world champion. The Four Horsemen were at their absolute peak. JJ, we'll start off as always. What do you know of 1986?
I know some of the names that you've said, so that's
Right.
about it. This is like proper
Wrestling.
proper school. This is school for me, right? I'm just here to drink from the fountain of knowledge that is Jack Milner. Like, I'm ready. So, and yeah, teach me. I'm ready to learn. But yeah, I really know very, very little.
Some of your faces, because I'm going to say you've got the son of the dream here. The American Dream, Dusty Rhodes is Bucky. He's the main man in JCP. Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, two members of the Horsemen, now in AEW. Like I said, Ric Flair's the world championship. Lissy, have you gone back and watched anything from, say, this era of 80s NWA, the old-fashioned wrestling?
Well, you know, I love the 80s, the golden era of wrestling, or, I mean, you went really far, the best year in wrestling ever, right? This is back when we still had the territories. So this is my absolute favorite time in wrestling. And you feel that, you feel the heat in the buildup. Like, they didn't rush things back then either, but also fans didn't get as tired of things so quickly because, you know, we only had little bits and pieces here and there. This days of cable, still very, you know, watching it in your part of the country specifically. So I always love to be able to go back and see how different territories operated. And we know this was the top back then. As you guys say, this was the tits.
This was the tits, yeah. And this is what kind of made the Superstation slot so invaluable. Remember, it was originally Georgia Championship Wrestling in '84 until Black Saturday when Vince bought out the time slot from the Briscoe brothers, who had a big share in the territory. That's when an offshoot came in. But the Crockett brothers, Jim Crockett Promotions, paid Vince McMahon $1 million to buy the time slot back, which allowed Vince to fund WrestleMania, and the rest is history. So there's a lot of history in this TV show in particular. And this is at a time, as you'll know this, when cable wasn't really that prominent still. And this was the show, the only wrestling show on cable TV. So it went to the entire country. So we will try to watch this. JJ, you will have, hopefully, you'll catch, but I'm pretty sure you'll recognize plenty of people on there. Lissy, can you tell us where we are for the Peacock Network?
Yes, sir. So Peacock, we're on World Championship Wrestling, Season 2, Episode 39, and Action.
And for us people who are gloriously still on the network, it's October the 4th, 1986. We're out of the Great American Bash now. We're heading towards Starrcade. It's World Championship Wrestling -5465. And it is my favorite intro of any wrestling. So perhaps maybe apart from Raw in 2002. But World Championship Wrestling, play in 3, 2, 1. Oh, it just makes me feel warm inside. I was obviously born 20 years too late.
Obviously.
Yeah, so I'm gonna know a lot of faces, but yeah,
this was
Jack,
high-tech shit back then.
Looks amazing. Did you get it? That's the world. It's World Championship Wrestling.
I mean, look at Arn Anderson.
Look at that stash. Look at Dan's glasses. God damn it.
Is he 25? Is he 45? We don't know.
Arn's, the chest hair's on point as well. Ollie Anderson, evil, mean, and nasty. Arn's only been in the territory 18 months. He's only been wrestling for 3.5 years. And he just started dyeing his hair blonde. But look at those glasses, man. Oh.
I love these glasses. I want some.
And started, around when he came in this time last year, he started using the phrase, I don't mean to toot my own horn, but toot. Amazing. The Andersons attacked Magnum around this time last year. But Judge, you'll immediately notice the intensity of the promos.
Yeah.
You're not playing games now.
No. Yeah, like everyone back then could cut promos. Like that was it. You had to. It was like an entry point.
Talk them into the seats.
If you can't cut a promo, don't come here.
Baldy was so good. He's so underappreciated.
By who? I appreciate him.
You know, G, you get it. Let's go to the ring. Come on, Tony. Don't let me down. Thank you. If you notice, Magnum will win this in 20 seconds. Wow. Marvez tried to do Tony Schiavone last week on Dynamite and completely buried it. Let's go to the ring. Did you not see after you with Jericho and Jake Hager? Let's go to the ring.
Wait, is this a young Hebner here?
Baby Earl. Yeah, look at the count. You can tell straight away.
Wow, okay. That was quick.
That was quick. That was all Magnum did for about 18 months. He came in from Mid-South, summer of 84, replaced Barry. Right, this is Paul Jones and Baron von Raschke. Baron von Raschke was a really big guy in the in AWA in the 70s. Paul Jones was a big star for the Crockett's in the 70s. And he became a manager about 18 months ago and he started Big Almeida in an army. I mean, this was pretty hokey for Crockett Promotions. I think either this time or the week after, maybe a couple weeks after, he brings in Rick Rude from World Class. There was a good time to do with Manny Fernandez, and then he obviously heads to the WWF.
How frequently would they have like pay-per-views? So was it just like this half-hour show once a week, and then like what, a pay-per-view every 3 months or something?
So Dusty brought in the Great American Bash in '85. Then they started doing like a tour in '86 where they were at about 14 different stadiums. But Starrcade was the first pay-per-view of any wrestling organizer ever. '83, Flair for the gold. Flair defeated Harley Race for the title in Greensboro. And they started building this, but they could do, because they had the slot on the Superstation, it's the equivalent, I suppose, of WWF having specials on Sky One. No one else had access to it. So they would get people from all different territories and then do a big special, like quarter. And that was the thinking then behind Clash of the Champions, which first went up against WrestleMania in '88, Sting versus Flair, ahead of WrestleMania 4.
Right.
And that's where Survivor Series gave birth to. In '88, it went up against '87 went up against Starrcade, and Vince basically said, if you run Starrcade as a pay-per-view, you won't get WrestleMania 6 months later. And that's what saw business completely go downturn.
Right.
But yeah, Baron von Raschke was been around forever. If you listen to Punk talk, because Punk's from the AWA Chicago area, he was big with him growing up. But yeah, Magnum was being built here. They were building towards Starrcade, where Tully Blanchard's the United States champion. They had a great I Quit steel cage match, which I think got 5 stars, one of the best ever. Oh my God, I hate this guy. Jimmy Valiant, let me track this. You asked about dancing gimmicks ever getting over. So Jimmy Valiant was a big deal in Memphis in the late 70s. And then he comes through and being a friend of Dusty Rhodes. He lost the hair versus hair match in the Great American Bash tour. Again, in the mid-80s, being bald was seen as very bad. So they got his main chant during this area was bald-headed geeks. There's going to be some bald-headed geeks in this place, Willy Willy. And Tony's talked on what happened when, didn't really know what to do with him.
Look at Tony.
Tony's, I think, 27 here. With a stash of a 45-year-old.
Definitely has the porn star mustache going for him.
Everyone's so charismatic.
If you didn't talk, you didn't get over.
You had to.
And famously says when he came to the Carolinas, when he came to Mid Atlantic, he goes and visits Dusty in his office with the booker. Any advice, Dream? Go get over, Daddy. That's it. Man, this looks so 80s. The Raging Bull, Manny Fernandez.
Font, isn't it? It's just the font that does it.
So how many people are in attendance here? 100?
I think there's about 100 to 150. But they were like real diehards of, I suppose, of this format, this era, because they've been recording here in the TBS studios for the best part of 10 years by this point. God, how young's Earl Hebner is?
There's no signs anywhere. I mean, it's not that big a fan.
That wasn't it back then. Look at, there's like 3 rows, JJ. You can't have a sign.
People did make some, but when the Horsemen kicked off, there were 4 guys who turned up in suits and shades pretty much every week during '86.
I love that dedication. Is this a tag team going against each other?
Same trunks and tights.
They are. They're wearing the same outfit.
So Manny Fernandez had just feuded with the guy we saw first, Paul Jones. He's Almeida, and the other guy, Jimmy Valiant. These two were like mates.
Polite applause.
And one of them was about, I think Manny's about to turn on him, and he formed a tag team with Rick. Right? When you look at him, what do you think? The guy in the back.
Ric Flair.
Buddy Landell. So he'd been around for about 2 years, calling himself the Real Nature Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Dundee was Scottish-Australian, and he was huge in Memphis, feuded a lot with Jerry Lawler. And him and Buddy Landell came back to Crockett's in the middle of '86. So one of them was basically a rip-off of Elvis, the other one's a rip-off of Ric Flair.
This is just like so different from like what I know wrestling to be, man.
It's
like,
so weird.
30-second match, crossbody, right, 1, 2, 3, done, right. Now we like cut back and give it 3 promos, and we'll go back to the ring for a 30-second match.
Well, because you needed to, I mean, there's a lot of limited time here, so they had to just...
I get it.
Yeah.
Buddy Landell was being built huge in the late '85. He wrestled at Starcade. I think he'd be somebody like Mike Rotunda, obviously IRS, in a later gimmick for the TV title. He was given a big push, but the '80s man, he had a few personal demons and was sacked, and he gave him another chance here. And after that, he messed this up and gone after that.
Okay, how long is this match? 90 seconds? 2 minutes?
I'll take the under.
Andy Mulkey was one of the Mulkey brothers' famous pair of jobbers enhancement talent around this time. Tim Horner was a proper territory guy.
I love that there's just a family, like mum, dad, 2 young kids, just front row.
Mm-hmm.
It's just pure family. Isn't it?
Nothing threatening around here, yeah. Tim Horner never really made it big. He had a good stretch in what's Cornette's promotion? Smoky Mountain. He was in the WWF, I think, a couple of years, but one of those that never really got over to the next level. But this is when they talk about the old-fashioned wrestling.
I guess this is kind of what NWA Power are kind of shooting for. Like a bit of a throwback, single studio.
Same look and feel.
Yeah.
So the time Earl Hebner is refereeing in the NWA, his brother Dave, his twin brother's refereeing in the WWF, and it was Earl's switch. Do you remember the double turn? Not double turn. The twin referees at Saturday Night's main event.
Yeah.
I know you do.
Sorry.
You're an encyclopedia, but JJ less so. So basically, that's how they got the belt off Hogan in '88. JJ.
Right.
They had the a second referee come out and do a fast count against Hogan because the $1 Million Man had paid him off. Genius.
The original,
So far ahead of his time.
Good job.
Good bridge.
Yeah. You're not kicking out of a bridge like that.
I mean, we've got to watch it. We've got to watch a lot more Ring of Honor from 2005. Dragon was just in a different league then.
Stay tuned. More high-flying action is coming.
Something's tickled Tony off stage. There's the Rock and Roll Express. Robert Gibson's Lazy Eye.
It's only gotten lazier.
The Rock and Roll were huge in 1986. They had the Rock and Roll Summer Sizzler Tour, where the Midnights and the Rock and Roll would headline everywhere, and everywhere was sold out. Like, no exaggeration. When they talk about selling like Ricky Morton's, because teenage girls were screaming all across the Mid-Atlantic area for him.
Here we go.
Let's go to the ring. Oh, here we go. Some Horsemen, baby.
Ooh, hello.
Ooh.
Surely we get some time for this match. Or is this just a squash?
Let's probably go about 6-7 minutes.
All right, I'm ready.
Ole would generally just beat the shit out of these guys. Like,
where's our fourth horseman? What's going on here?
Well, Ric Flair was still the traveling world champion at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe he would have to go to Kansas pretty much once a month, which he hated. But they would wrestle in Kansas on the Friday, TV in St. Louis on the, and the NWA had a show, didn't they, last month, wrestling at the Chase.
Right.
Rick would wrestle for TV Saturday morning and then get a flight back to wherever they were wrestling. And most Saturdays they would do double shots as well. So they would go from here to go and wrestle somewhere, I don't know, Richmond, Virginia, drive up from Atlanta, and then go do a matinee show, and then go wrestle somewhere like Greensboro Saturday night. That's JJ Dillon, the mastermind behind it all.
I was going to say, can we just talk about how JJ Dillon has been old since 1980?
Not age. Like when you saw him at the AEW show, early in the year, like he looks exactly the same.
He does.
No wrinkles.
Time froze at like 60 for him.
I love seeing young El Hebner. How old is El Hebner here? Someone get the Wikipedia.
I think it was about, I want to say about 30, yeah. But so before Arn, the Andersons were Gene and Ole, and they were huge show pretty much throughout the 70s. And when Arn was wrestling in Mid-South, the Junkyard Dog, it was the top guy there, said to one of the bookers, like, hey, that new kid we got there, he looks like an Anderson. And then he went wrestling, he was there, he wrestled a bit in Continental. He was wrestling in the Florida Cemetery. He said he loved, was it Pensacola? Was that a nice part of the world, let's say?
Pensacola, Florida.
No? All right, he loved it.
It's not.
It was cheap and he was out every night drinking. It was brilliant. Lots of women.
Yeah, it's good for that. It's good for that.
Yeah, exactly. When you're a wrestler down there. But he said he looked like an Anderson, so he ended up going to the Carolinas, and he was a made man just by being an Anderson. Imagine it's like if you're, I'm going to say, if you're a son of Wayne Rooney, but probably less so much. It's like being a Kardashian in the wrestling world. There you go. A crossover I never thought I'd use on a podcast looking at Jim Crockett Promotions.
You did it. Good job.
Thank you. But the Andersons were famous for just taking a body part and working over it. So they generally just take an arm or a shoulder and try and rip it apart for about 20 minutes.
Jack, did you ever used to tune into like WWF Vintage that they used to show on Sky Sports or Sky One from time to time? I feel like it was stuff in this kind of era.
I'm not familiar with this program.
It's just like they would just do like a 1 hour show, and this was like in 2000, and they would show like random matches from like 15 years ago.
I don't know.
Tully was so good. Oh. If we ever get to watch like Arn and Tully matches from '87, so Ole leaves the Horsemen in All he was the first horseman, but he'd made a fortune already. He owned the Georgia territory, sold out to the Crockett's. So he just went back home for 6 months. His son was about 18 and he was wrestling a state, like, does it called state championships? He was wrestling high level at this point, so he didn't need to be around. He came back in around June before the Great American Bashes, and then left again in January. They brought Luger in as a horseman. And that's when Aaron and Tolly started tagging together, and they were just so good.
They didn't even try and stop the pin. They just started getting in the ring. They're like, okay, it's over. Let's just slowly walk in at the 2 count.
Not even famous. The best part about the show, there was always like a really good promo from Jim Cornette. Oh, he's the dream, baby.
I love his shades.
What a guy.
They look a bit small for his head, but
that's a fresh blade job as well. Look at that forehead.
Oh my god.
More cut than a Kevin Dunn editing suite. Business, baby. I get told off by them all the time for just talking like Dusty Rhodes all the time.
I mean, you do it with us, so I can't imagine how much you do it at home.
Sucker. Who you calling sucker? I've already got this clipped up.
You want some? Come get some.
Like, that was 70 minutes, 70 seconds of just pure amazingness. Like, you look at him, you think Cody's immediately got Dusty's charisma aura. And this is Paul Jones's army. He's feuded with Dusty for the best part of 2 years. And again,
how old is the Baron here?
I don't remember. He's like 50 now.
No, that's what I was gonna say. The Baron's another one. It's like he's always been old.
And Pez Whatley was called Shaska Whatley because, again, Paul Jones is trying to pretend he's like I don't know, like when Sergeant Slaughter went rogue and he became like a Iraqi sympathizer, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
This is my first real. So I was watching wrestling, WrestleMania 9, WrestleMania 7, and that was when even the Iron Sheik became Colonel Adnan, which looking back is just ridiculous. Yeah. Vince's like he's like from that.
Wait, he was
Colonel Mustafa, yeah,
and it was General Adnan.
I don't get how this dude with the white hair is a wrestler. Like, he has no muscle anywhere. Like,
he's basically there to be beaten up.
Slightly flabby old dude. Yeah, I mean, sure.
He's like a 50-year-old jobber.
Yeah.
Baron von Raschke had the claw. Yeah, Baron von Raschke's 81 now.
I was going to say, the Baron's claw or the Von Erich claw? Which one was better?
I mean, they're both awful, aren't they? I mean, when you try and tell someone of Monarch, the fact that Kerry Von Erich was able to get the claw over is a fact in itself.
Well, because he was so strong too. Like, if you looked at him, you'd think that he would hurt you with the claw.
And he Baron von Raschke talk like this, like he's from Russia. Okay, and you listen to the promos, they kind of think, I can't believe they got over. But so when Nikita Koloff, a guy from Minnesota, he actually went and changed. This is how ridiculous or how amazing the era was. Nikita Koloff changed his name by default from, I think he's called like Sean Hughes or something like that. He changed his name to Nikita Koloff for fear that people would worry that he wasn't a Russian. Got himself, shaved his head, changed his name, never broke character ever.
That's how
he started seeing the woman who was Miss Alabama started coming to the tapings here, and he started seeing her. And it wasn't until they got engaged until he smartened her up that it wasn't actually a Russian, didn't speak like that. But she's just amazing. I have something to tell you. I don't actually talk like this.
I just can't.
Protect the business at all costs.
Imagine if that was like a thing. She just loved the Russian accent and she was like, I'm out of here.
I'm gone.
Let me track this because Cornette is in fine form in 1986. Cornette is 24 here.
Yeah.
He's 24.
Or 40.
Like that clip I sent you, that him, I'm hunting warriors. I saw that this morning and just howled. And this is the best combination of the Midnight Express. Beautiful Bobby and Loverboy Dennis. Dennis Condrey, old-fashioned, like gruff, no-nonsense Southern wrestler. And Bobby Eaton was probably one of the first people to start actually flying around the ring.
I mean,
like during the bashes of '86, the Midnight's feuded with Dusty and Magnum America's team and the Rock and Roll. And like I said, it was a sellout everywhere. The problem was then they didn't really know where to go with it. Dusty started to struggle in terms of booking, and there's only one way business could go, especially when Hogan was probably at his, what you'd say, his peak, late '86, WrestleMania 3 '87, and then the next year until Savage went the belt. The Midnight Express.
What a guy.
So this is what, the fourth, fifth match?
Yeah, there really were not like ring entrances back then. Like now that's such a big part of like the wrestler and their persona and everything. Back then they just got in the ring and went.
I mean, and the thing is, if you're watching this now, you think you look at the Midnights, Condrey and Eaton, they don't look exactly aesthetically pleasing. Is that the way to put it?
I feel like they're superstars. So you got Jim Cornette doing these like sick promos for like 3 minutes. That's so good. And now I'm like, all right, I want to see these guys against the Road Warriors. I'm ready.
I mean, the one he cut, like I said, on this date, so 27 September '86, was brilliant. And he basically says, the Road Warriors, idiots. You know, they're called jacked up, nothing in their brains. We'll out wrestle them every other week, twice on Sunday. So you're watching that going, God, I can't wait the Road Warriors to beat them up. And like I said, they ended up having a scaffold match at a great elbow from Bobby. Bobby was so good. They ended up having a scaffold match at Starrcade '86 when Cornette was supposed to jump off the scaffolding. Big Bubba, here comes the leg drop. Probably the first person to ever do this. Oh, knee first. But yeah, Big Bubba, the big boss man, was supposed to catch him. But if you listen to the Road Warriors and shoot interviews, Bubba was so high that night on Smack that he looked up into the lights to try to catch Cornette and just couldn't find him. So he's supposed to catch Cornette, drops him. Cornette does his ACL in.
Wow.
And got. I think the only bonus was like an extra $2,000 for it. So someone had to do a scaffold bump. And Cornette's scared of heights as well, which makes no sense.
Well, maybe that's why.
Maybe that's why, yeah.
I love how just like a basic knee drop off
big
the top rope and the
splash.
crowd are like, yeah.
Is that going to do it? He's not giving away the leg drop on ETV. Oh, let me track it because this is the Nature Boy looking as only he can look. There you go. The Nature immediately puts over the company.
Woo.
That's what I mean. Nowadays, they don't understand. You've got if you're not going to beat them, build them up.
This is what AEW I think do really well as well. Because you see, like, I don't know if you guys saw Friday night, but like Ricky Starks on commentary, and he's like, yeah, he's cheering for the heels and he's against the faces, but he's still like, oh, okay, this guy's pretty good, or they do something good. He points out, you know, they do a decent job. It's not just like, you suck and I'm gonna beat you. It's like, okay, well, what have you achieved? You beat someone who sucks.
Punk was very good on commentary last week. I thought he was very good at stressing that. And Flair would famously, he'd be on the TBS studios most mornings here, would never wear the same suit twice.
Cannot. That'll hurt his image.
Dollar shoes.
Watch.
Bigger cars than others.
How much of the main event is making these days?
Flair was making $1 million a year in '86.
And how much was he spending a year?
$2 million a year. Still is. Champion.
Ooh.
Puts something into every wrestler in the company, tells you where he's going to be, tell you where the live show's on the next week, and looks $1 million. That's how it's done. And this would have been the man to take the belt off him, but Magnum TA had a career-ending car crash literally 2 weeks from now.
Wow.
He was the US champion all throughout, up until the Great American Bash has lost to Nikita. They had to get the US title off him because he was going to beat Flair at Starrcade. He would have been huge in the WWF. Look at those, look at that forehead. Man, Magnum didn't mind blading. And Flair would always caught him with these teeny-weeny arms and his skinny little neck and his funky motorcycle. But these two were on a collision course for Starrcade main event '86.
How far are we from Starrcade? Like 4 weeks?
7 weeks.
7 weeks. So he's literally got in a car crash like a month before he's set to win the world title. I
think, yeah. He was the US champion. Like I said, he beat Tully for the title Starrcade the year before. He had held the belt then until the summer. He had the big feud with Nikita. They got the belt off him. Can you believe Ron Garvin would win the title from Flair a year after?
I've never heard of this guy.
Ronnie Garvin.
Ronnie Garvin? Never?
I'm proud to be an American. You know, just great to be here. And great Stars and Stripes. He was French Canadian. He really couldn't cut a promo. And he went to the WWF. So he won the title in '87. Yesterday was the 34 years since. It was called the Hands of Stone. But when he went to the WWF, he had the Garvin stomp. So he'd stamp around. Do you remember a bit like Earthquake would? So he had the Garvin stomp, but he was, wasn't very good. And this is his kayfabe. This is his kayfabe brother, Gorgeous Jimmy Garvin, which is actually his stepdad, weirdly enough.
Wow.
Ronnie's his stepdad. And that's Precious. And a little bit hokey. Flair has a bit in '87. He has a feud with him where he wins Precious. He wins a night with Precious. Again, this is so '80s. He loses a match with him and he gets Precious for a night.
I feel like I say this too often, but would never happen on TV today.
Oh, Flair cuts a promo. I remember July 4th, '87, when he says what he's going to do when he wins a match with her. I'm going to film the night. I'm going to get that gorgeous blonde with the bodacious tatas. We're going to get the film crew. We're going to get the satin sheets. Woo! Yeah, it was a different time. But they're trying to build a feud later on in the year where the Garvins would have something with the Horseman. But you look at like a Magnum TA, you look at him. I'm trying to work out why he was so cut short. It must have been like NFL, or is this time a big baseball time?
October. No, well, yeah. No, there's no basketball in October, right? That starts like February.
Producer Virgil Runnels.
No, basketball starts in like October, November.
Okay. I don't know shit, clearly. When's the end of the basketball season?
Not till, it goes all the way till like June when the finals happen.
Oh, Jesus. Okay. That's a long ass season.
Long as hell, trust me.
And that's it.
Right, so that was a very quick edition of World Championship Wrestling. What did you make of it, JJ?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I might actually go back and watch this properly, like after, so I can hear the promos properly. That was really fun. I'm gonna start. I'm into this. I really enjoyed it. It's so good because it's just like so quick. You can just sit there half an hour and done.
Come to the and you always look. Tony doesn't interview them. He always says, "I'm just a mic stand."
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They've got 2.5 minutes, 3 minutes. Get your shit in, and then let's go to the ring. 3-4 minute squash. Start again. And that's why you have to be economical with your. That's why Jim Russo says, maximize your minutes. Here, you'd have 4 or 5 minutes either a match or promo, get over, sell tickets, get up the card.
But you can see that the way that Jim Cornette and Ric Flair and people like that are talking, like it is like get these people into the arena to watch these matches, like get them hyped for it and get them going. And you get like little snippets of what they can do in a 30-second or, a 2-minute match or whatever. But you're not really, I kind of get a bit more what it means. Like you don't give it away on free TV. They do now, but you can see why they did that wasn't how it worked then.
It's very rare that you see the world champion do anything, but I think Flair wrestled 4 times on TV in '86, and then you'd have the specials, whatever, like the Superstars of the Superstation. The idea would be if you want to see the world champion, because Flair would wrestle pretty much a 60-minute time limit draw every night. So if we get you into the building, you're going to get your money's worth there, and you'll come back the week after or the month after when we're next in the town. So the system worked until TV money became more important than, or media, value became more important than selling tickets, which probably happened in the last 4 or 5 years. Lissy, would you want to watch more of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we said this. This is the time when kayfabe was everything. It was alive and well. The heels rode together, the baby faces rode together. Like there was no commingling. Everybody was always, on top of their game. I think a program like this, though, you don't watch it necessarily for the length or the quality of the matches that we see, today, but the promos make it entertaining, and it also kind of helps to build the storyline. Like we said earlier, though, the storylines were longer, and because you only had that 2-3 minutes to really bring your point across. So true to the golden age of wrestling.
Absolutely. Like I said, your job is to sell tickets, talk them into the building, as it were. And I think they did that. Like from JJ watching that for the first time, watching like 4 or 5 promos, you want to see more. So that's kind of job done from them. Excellent.
Yeah, 100%.
Our next one will be going back to 1985, where at the time of recording, I think it's the 29th of September, where we have the Horsemen really form, and the Andersons join Ric Flair in the ring and break Dusty's leg, which leads to then the Hard Times promo and the Starrcade main event in '85. So this is around late '85 when you really get Brain and the Horsemen form, and Dusty and Magnum and the Rock and Roll. So it's a really exciting time. So fingers crossed we will cover that a lot more. In the meantime, JJ, you probably know the schedule better tonight because I'm hopeless. Tell us what we've got coming up soon.
Let me get out. Whilst I do this, you can start the discussion. Hard Times, best promo of all time?
The best promo of all time is November the 13th, 1987 in the TBS studio. Ric Flair, the man with the golden spoon.
All right. You need to get that up on the pages.
I can give you like specific dates. July 4th, 87, Flair, the day of War Games, sells the War Games in the Omni.
So coming up, you already said October 12th, 1985, WCW. We've got that on the agenda. We've got a Monday Night Raw, McMahon and Austin with the gun. And then we've got Halloween Havoc 96. Get excited to see Rey Mysterio's gear. And then we go to 1987 WCW, October 31st. And then there's Survivor Series 97. Why have you put that there? What happened there?
Survivor Series 97?
Come on.
I mean, there's some great elimination matches.
Have you not figured out sarcasm yet over there? Come on.
Come on, Jack.
Stop.
I thought you were asking about if there were any specific matches.
No. He's yanking your chain.
You're doing what?
So we got some old school WCWs coming up. We got a Monday Night Raw. We've got a Survivor Series and a Halloween Havoc. That seems to be what's on the agenda for the next few weeks.
There's a good blend, and likewise, if you've got any suggestions, if anybody watching wants us to watch anything specifically, I'm sure we can be strong-armed into doing that accordingly. But yeah, it's a good diverse range, and we can fine-tune this as we go along.
Yeah, I'm down.
Excellent. Well, I was going to say gents then, it's force of habit. Lady and gentlemen, it's been a pleasure, and we will speak to you the next week or so with some more classic wrestling action. JJ, Lissy, been a pleasure. Speak to you both soon.
Peace.